My name is Joseph Lentenyoi from Permaculture Research Institute of Kenya. And now, where I'm standing is the farm where Permaculture Research Institute is based at Seituna Farm. I've been supported by Permaculture Research Institute of Australia to come here for my 10-week internship, which I am proud of, and thanks to Permaculture Research Institute of Australia. And how I came across permaculture is through a PDC that I took with Jeff Lawton in October 2007 in Musoma, Tanzania. And I am an organic agriculture professional. I got a bachelor's degree in organic agriculture, but it twisted round when I took my PDC with Jeff Lawton in 2007. Because immediately when I went back to Kenya after the PDC, I got changed, and I really liked the concept so much, and that I went to Nyumbani village where I was a full-time employee as a farm manager. And I called upon the people to come and train with me. So actually, I'm just going to talk about how permaculture came to our country, especially on my background a little bit. Most people are asking a big question that, Joseph, you come from Maasai tribe. Maasai live in Kenya and Tanzania, and they practice pastoralism. That means they keep cows, goats, camels for their livelihood. And that's all what they know. And they move from place to place for pastures. They really move sometimes long distance, and they never knew about what's agriculture, because their staple food is meat, milk, and blood from the cows, camels, and goats. So then they ask, how did you got about this? I got this because out of the passion I have for the environment, and I developed it when I was in high school. I grew up in a Maasai setup where I moved from place to place myself for pastures. But in my little knowledge when I was in high school, I really like the plants. Whenever I go back home, I will always have a small backyard to plant a few things and see them grow. When I wake up early in the morning, I see a plant growing, and that's what my heart likes. And that's why I pursued agriculture. So many people wonder about that, but that's how it came to be. So basically, I really wanted to see people understand this and to preach it like gospel. And for now, I believe it has gone far, because immediately when I went back to Kenya, I contacted Jeff after 1 year to see whether we can have a possibility of having a PDC in our country, Kenya, which people never knew what is permaculture. When I went back, when I say permaculture, people will be scared to me because they don't know what's this. But then when I contacted Jeff, he contacted Warren Brush from Quail Spring Learning Oasis in California. And then we started organizing with Warren how we are going to have a PDC in Kenya. And we chose to have it in where I'm working now, which is in Nyumbani village. So 2 years down the line, we managed to bring Warren Brush to take on a PDC. And it happened in 2010 December in the Nyumbani village. We managed to get a group of 30 people, 30 students, who came to our property. Half of the class was international students, and half of it were Kenyans, and a few East Africans like Uganda and Tanzania. So then we took a PDC there, and the 30 people were really inspired and liked my work right there at Nyumbani village as a demonstration site. And people started talking about it and how we are going to move it forward from there. And that was the birth of Permaculture Research Institute of Kenya. And immediately when we registered it, there was a big call in the country and in East Africa for the greater perspective of permaculture, and people reading the website for Permaculture Research Institute of Australia and other projects in the world. And it's like, this is what we want to do. Very intelligent people in East Africa now are going for it. And there is a big call for consultancies, for PDCs, and for short trainings, even weekend training. One of our sites in the country is doing an introductory weekend training on permaculture, and that people are putting more efforts on it and coming to train. Even professionals from other fields, people who are well learned, they like it, and that they want to do it by practical, right from their homes to where they are working to bigger NGOs. So for me, it has been a big step forward in actually my life. And I think it was a turning point when I did my PDC, a big turning point that I would think right from now, this is my livelihood and this is what I will be doing in lifetime. So one of the projects that I'm involved in is Nyumbani Village, Kitui, which is in the east of Nairobi. Basically, the purpose of the orphanage is to have HIV orphaned children brought into the village, children who are double orphans, total destitute. And they come from the Ukambani region, which is in the east of the country. And that what happens is that we do have an extension program to the community that identifies those children who are double orphans. And they come to the village and they come with a relative or a grandparent, maybe a grandmother or a grandfather who will come and stay with them in the village. And that the village is really a unique setup in the society because we are used to the boarding orphanages where the children will stay in a dormitory, in a big group. But here we are now bringing the children, and we do not want them to lose their culture. They come, they stay in a family setup, and they do exactly what they have been doing at home. They cook with their grandmother, they learn a lot, stories at night and all that, so that they don't lose their culture. After they leave the village, they leave the village still with their rich culture. And that we thought about feeding the children in the village because the target for the project is to have 1,000 children by the end of 2012, which is almost now full capacity with 900 children. One of our plans for sustainability is to grow food for the use in the village, children to use it in the village, and sell the surplus to the other neighboring markets so that we can buy what we cannot grow. We need to think about working on projects that put food on the table, because in an African setup or in our situation right now and other, maybe in Asia, India and South America, we are thinking about putting food on the table and getting food because it's our main problem for now. One of the things that I really want to get involved is training more people in our country and in East Africa. And that's why I'm here, because I will need to be a designer or a teacher for permaculture so that I will preach the word more. Because the more people will get the concept in our country, which is having many problems now as far as land degradation, food insecurity, and unsustainable practices are concerned, is to preach that word to the people, to get it right. Because that's the only way we can win permaculture in Kenya and in East Africa. And that we've got to work on how we are going to get many designers in Africa, many teachers. We all know that our country is really eroded and so degraded, such that we need to reverse the trend. We need to restore the country from all sorts of degradation and all sorts of eroded land. This morning when I woke up, I talked with a friend where we are camping in Seituna farm, and she told me that at night there was noise of the birds into the forest where we are just living nearby. And for me, it was funny because in our country, you can hardly hear birds at night. And that means fauna and flora is really is getting lost. We have lost a lot. 2 decades before, Kenya was like almost where I am standing now, with rich forested areas, a slope like this with swales and all that, and that we will need to go back to that. And the only way we'll go back to that is through inspiration now of young people, especially, who are growing up into degraded landscapes, and they think that their livelihoods is in the city. So there is a huge rural-urban migration for people to go and seek employment. But now they forget about their rural setup with the agriculture, with the rich agricultural economy, which, of course, Kenya is one of the countries that one of its economy depends with agriculture. We do not have oil, we do not have anything to mine, but the entire country depends with agriculture for its livelihood, for the basic need, food, water, and all that. And that it's so sad now that the government of Kenya have just scrapped in agriculture subjects in the school curriculums. And we are so saddened by that. And now we will, as PRI Kenya, I think it's one of our objectives now to push the bill to the government to bring in back education to the school curriculum. Also, farmers in Africa have the indigenous seeds that now we are losing them through other seeds from other regions. We tend to go buy seeds that we don't know where they come from. We plant them in our land, and then we do not harvest the seeds and consume and save more in our seed banks for the next plantation as we used to do before. And we as Permaculture Research Institute of Kenya, we do have plans to set up a big seed bank so that farmers will have a seed that they will consistently be planting. That's what they used to do like 3 decades ago, but now it is disappearing very, very fast. And that was part of their indigenous knowledge and the indigenous resource, because it has saved them a lot of money to go back to the shops and buy the seed, which of course now they don't have money to go and buy because they are putting in the seed that they buy from the shops, which require a lot of water, a lot of fertilization that they are trying to put into the farms, and that it degrades the soil. And then losing now the fertility of the soil. Once education is realized in the country, then people will go back to their land and try to plant trees, try to put in more swales into the eroded slopey areas and restore back the fauna and flora. So that's one big challenge, but it has just started. The realization for getting teachers, local teachers and local designers has just started with me being here. I look forward for us to get and work on a strategy where we'll be sending at least 1 or 2 persons per year to come and do an internship here, so that the international teachers that we are already bringing them in our country and international designers will work together with the local people, because local people will bring in indigenous knowledge. International teachers and designers will bring in what they know from their own perspective in their country and from their travel discoveries. Then when they bring together, then that will bring in a big relationship that will really go further to the local people beyond Kenya. Also in East Africa now, it's the same trend. Uganda, Tanzania, we are almost in the same situation. And that once PRI Kenya is set up and running, then we will need to extend our arms into the East African region, so that after that we'll think of Africa. And I think we will solve most of our problems. Most of our problems now is food insecurity. Most communities really, they go without food for a day or two, simply because they do not have the know-how on how to till land now. Land is a lot in our country. We have natural resources. It's really a rich country with natural resources, but we are not utilizing them. And the way only to utilize them is to train people on permaculture, and then they go back into their land. We trap people from the cities to go back into the rural areas and do farming. And not only farming, but farming through a permaculture way, where it's sustainable. You reverse back the trend of soil erosion into the slopey areas and harness all the key places to get enough water for irrigation. Where I'm working now, the project I'm working now, which is Nyumbani village, Kitui, we are almost becoming a small highland in a desert, if I will say, because we are putting a lot of strategies to ensure that we get enough food. We are planting a lot of trees for hardwood timber for the orphanage, which is having more than 900 children at present and 100 elderly people. But then the community around are the most poor people, and that we just integrated the orphanage together with the community. So we call them, we have meetings, we train them on sustainable way of farming. Actually, we are organically certified, and that we give them pieces of land. Out of our harnessed rivers with the sand dams, we do have shallow wells that we give to the community pieces of land. We give them water, we give them training, and then they farm their crops. They harvest their crops, like mostly vegetables, and then they get it for their farms, and then we also sell surplus from them. And now we feel that we are not an island. We are becoming a hub. In our African setup, people believe by seeing. So once we set up our demonstration site very, very well, we do host PDCs and inviting even international teachers, and together with ourselves, people will believe and that they will go back and do it. The message to our government and to other governments in Africa is to support this process. This is a time to think about the people and their basic needs first in Africa, because the basic needs in Africa is not really there. The people are suffering. We are talking about relief food. We are talking about being given everything. Time has come to stop thinking about being given everything, but to think about how can we get anything we need right from our farms to the wider country, and stop thinking about help from outside. We have the resources that we need and we should harness them. And the call for the government is to support these small initiatives, because permaculture starts in as small and grows big. We are not focusing to start big and grow lower, but to start smaller and grow up. And this means starting from the poor farmer up to the bigger farmers. Recently we had a PDC that the government officers came in, the agricultural government officers came in, and they really embraced the concept of permaculture, and that we look forward to meet with them in many, many other forums to get them understand what we mean by permaculture and how it reverses the trend of bad problems now that we have in the environment, and that we hope that in the few coming years the concept will have gone to an extent that we will say now we will need to turn into bigger investments, bigger commercial farms, to advise them on what to do as far as permaculture techniques are concerned to restore back our degraded lands. We as a generation now, we are suffering out of reckless and poor thinking of the generations which is ahead of us, because they really never planned. If they planned well, we could have been enjoying now their effort and putting more effort for our children. So this is a call to the wider international community to think about this, to support the permaculture projects worldwide, right from Permaculture Research Institute of Australia, which is the founder of the concept. Of course, great thanks to Bill Mollison, going down to Jeff and all the other founders. This is a concept that will save the world. And the hope for Africa and all the world is in permaculture. I will call upon other people with other good strategies, dryland strategies, to come forward. You can come as volunteers to our organizations, and we will work together to make this a success, and putting in new strategies that will solve the current problems, especially in the drylands, because that's where now most of the problem is, in the Kenyan setup and in East Africa. Drylands are really so disadvantaged, and then people are really looking into migrating rather than restoring back the fauna and flora of the place. Thank you very much.